Hello, welcome or welcome back. I'm Civilian, a software dev / creative, but today's video is going to be a little game review. I've played this game before, it's PlateUp. This is my game of the year for 2022, my personal game of the year. And today I'm checking out the holiday update that they did in December because a friend asked me how it was and I actually hadn't played it yet. And so this is my third attempt. It's a little bit of a tricky one. There are a couple of interesting things on these North Pole maps that they've added that took a little bit of getting used to. So the first two attempts were breakfast and stir fry, and then on this one I started with turkey as a main dish, and it went a lot better. And the reason for this is that these North Pole maps are really interesting. So they all start with a card that guarantees at least one conveyor belt each day. Even on decoration days, which is pretty useful, all of these North Pole maps that I've seen have a bunch of built-in conveyor belts and these magic little houses with conveyor belts leading in and out of them. And these houses, as far as I could tell, act as mixers, ovens, and dishwashers automatically depending on what you put into them. So for example, if I put a raw turkey in, it cooks the turkey. If I put bread in, and this becomes important later, it does not become toast, but it becomes bread crumbs because it does the oven and then it does the mixer to chop up the cooked toast. So you can't use these magic houses to cook toast. You can use them to cook most other things that won't get messed up if you mix them before or after. But there's a couple of just random things that you can't really do. You also can't put in flour and get out a pie crust because it instead turns it into a loaf. So it just does the one mix instead of two. Now the very first thing I did was make a huge mistake and accidentally forgot to buy the booking desk. So I had money problems and I had time problems. I couldn't call in the next customers in advance the day, so I missed out on the money and I had to just wait for the customers to show up, which early on really is, there's a significant amount of waiting in the first couple of days. And as far as cooking, the turkey you just cook, portion 4 times, and then throw out the carcass. Pretty easy. Because of my money issues, I had to save the research desk the first time I saw it. I couldn't afford it. I often do this to get the copying desk anyway, because if you don't have a research desk, they're more likely to drop, or so I hear. But I couldn't actually afford it, so instead I decided to wait and try for a discount desk because I screwed myself so early. It was really the only thing I could do. My ideal usage of this map is having the dishes automatically collected and food delivered to the tables by conveyor because of how the kitchen area is laid out, but it's a little bit tricky. So the double house with the in and out on the right is the most useful for cooking because you could put things in and get them right back. But the top left houses are most useful for delivering food and collecting dishes because they go directly to the customer house. And that's another important thing, is that you can only put tables in the customer building. You cannot put them in the kitchen building. It just doesn't, you can't activate the chairs. And running back and forth either in the cooking building or between the cooking building and the customer building is a huge time sink. You lose a lot of time doing that, and in the end I think that's really what got me on all of my previous runs. I also noticed a little bug that you'll probably see throughout this little playthrough, but if the dishes are outside on one of the conveyor belts or inside one of the magic houses, when the day ends, the dishes are still there. They don't go into the stack. And so when you start the next day, your plate stacks are full, but you have these extra plates just sort of taking up space. So little bug there. I'm sure they'll get to it to fix it, but as of right now that's still happening pretty consistently. For my first card I picked stuffing, which I regretted almost immediately. I've never done stuffing before, so I thought it would be fun to try a new recipe, but then I read the recipe. You have to bake bread, slice it, cook up the toast, cut up the toast, add a chopped onion, and then cook it again to make 1 serving of stuffing. And so this became pretty unwieldy pretty fast. So The houses will at least cook and chop the toast, so that saves me one little step. But it was still pretty rough. I think with a portioner and a safety hob, or maybe a conveyor mixer, or a heating mixer, potentially, this could be made quite a bit easier, but as things were, it was pretty tough. I spent basically all of my downtime between orders just preparing more stuffing, and it was barely enough. Because of the money issues, a lot of the things I would have bought, I couldn't afford. I really like the ordering terminal for these maps, so I can take the orders remotely and just drop their food on the conveyor belt. And then if I have dish pickup automated too, I never have to run over to the serving building. And like I said, running back and forth is really time consuming because you have these two doors, and going through doors and making sure you don't get the door in a weird spot is harder than it looks. For the theme, I went with charming, but I didn't really have money to spend on decorations, so it didn't matter all that much. I really need to be more careful with day one. That booking desk is so important early game. At about day 6, I hit a sort of stride. I would make bread and at least one turkey first thing, and then just start whipping up stuffings. The turkey is so fast with these little buildings, and since the customer count's pretty low, I don't really need to worry about disposing the carcass. I have room, basically, for the entire day. So things were pretty repetitive, as these things go, just cooking turkey, making stuffing, rinse and repeat, pick up the plates, still a lot of running back and forth. For my second card, I added black coffee. I really like the coffee as a dessert because it's so easy. I'm still slowly trying to save up for the discount desk, but I did do a single roll, hoping for a blueprint cabinet, and I got one. So I'm able to save for that discount desk while still working on the next upgrade that I want. First I went with a mixer to help with the onions for stuffing, but I still, of course, am having money problems. And strangely, nobody wanted any coffee for the first day or two, which is a bummer because I was so ready. I was ready with the coffee. At this point, I also started acquiring dining tables for my grand vision of automated food delivery and dish pickup. But I didn't want to have to worry about actually serving more tables at once yet, so I just kept them in the kitchen area. A lot of these mid-game days were pretty repetitive because of my severe lack of funds. I think also turkey just isn't really a money maker. I'm not totally sure how much each serving of turkey sells for, but you can look at the video and check. I tried to spend as little as possible to save up for that discount desk, but I also knew from my 2 failed runs that I would need to start automating stuff really soon because there's a point where it just gets too busy to run back and forth like I'm doing, so I really need the automation to start taking form. Another mistake I made more than once is accidentally dropping things on the counter that leads to the magic house in the top left. So I would drop it thinking it would stay on the counter, but then it would teleport away, and then I would just get a little bit frazzled. So I really just needed more counter space on this side to hold things as I prepared them, especially since I'm trying to prepare so much stuffing in advance. At day 9, I got the choice between Victorian standards, where customers get angry if they can see you, and broccoli cheese soup. I really wanted to avoid adding a soup because every table orders at least one soup, so it just adds like a guaranteed extra course to each customer group. So I picked Victorian standards. It was mostly fine. I just couldn't stand in the dining area, so I did even more running back and forth and focused even more on getting that automation up. As it got busier around day 10, I started to move more dining tables into place, but I didn't really have enough grabbers to put my vision into effect yet. So just kind of a work in progress, moving things little by little, trying to get anything working so I can save myself a little bit of time. During the next decoration phase, I finally had enough to buy the discount desk, so I didn't buy any decorations, but I was able to start discounting things so I could actually buy them. At this point, the strategy was still the same. make as much stuffing as possible between orders because it's such a pain in the ass. I don't know why we don't just use box stuffing. It takes like 5 minutes and it makes more than one serving. It was kind of manageable though. I think not adding soup was the right decision. I think that would have killed it. On day 12, I finally grabbed a mixer for the onions, but I couldn't spare a grabber to haul them from the onion bin automatically, but it ended up being fine because of the next card I got, which I'll talk about in just a minute. I started working on discounted grabbers so I could actually clear tables automatically, which is much more important now that I have the Victorian Standards card, because I need to spend as little time near the tables as possible. I started to really get overwhelmed by the dishes, and I somehow missed, I just never got the 8 stack of plates, and I didn't quite realize it, so I ended up having to rush to grab clean plates and get them cleared, and I don't really understand how I got through this the way that I did. Watching it back, it looks like I almost died on day 12, mostly because of the plate situation. On day 13, my next card, I grabbed another side, cranberry sauce. I also have never done this side before, and in real life, this is one of my favorite holiday sides. I love cranberry sauce, and I love it in game too because it's so easy. You just chop cranberries and you add sugar. No cooking, no convoluted preparation steps like the stuffing. The only thing is that customers can order cranberry sauce, stuffing, or both. They're like toppings like the burgers, so it really only complicates the menu to have both of them, and it means I can't prepare as many dishes in advance completely. I have to just prepare the components. But the card does come with that 15% customer reduction, which did help quite a bit. I was finally able to start laying out my automatic plate cleanup. The problem I keep running into with this map though is that the best place to take the plates away is that top left corner, which is very far away from where I need the plates when I'm cooking, on the bottom right. I haven't figured out how to get around this yet. You might just need an entire line of conveyors across the top or something. I might play this map again and see if there's a way I can switch things around to make this easier somehow. Because I still have to take orders manually and deliver the food, there's still a lot of running back and forth, and then the running up to the top to grab the clean plates. So it's not great, but it is a little bit better because at least new customers can sit down because the tables will be cleared. A tray stand would have really helped here, but I don't think I saw one. Though sometimes my eyes just sort of gloss over them. It's possible I missed one. But I think trays are super useful. You just have to learn all their quirks because they have a lot of very specific ways that you have to click things in order to pick up multiple plates or to get things on the plate from the tray stand, and so it does take a little bit of learning. On day 14, I almost had enough grabbers to start with a fully automated system. I still need to take orders manually, but dropping food into the top magic building on the right, letting it come out in the lower magic building at the top left, and then routing it up to all the conveyor belts, I can create a loop for delivering food and then also grabbing plates. Also, if you don't know, when you have connected dining tables, the one with the number over it is where the dirty plates go when the customers are done eating. So that's where you always want your plate pickup to happen, is on that upper table. But you can deliver food either directly to the table or to an adjacent space on a conveyor belt, and the customers can just grab it. So 2 pro tips for automating food and plate pickup. I was able to get a copying desk after all, which is really nice. The only way I could afford it was because I got the discount desk first, so that was probably a good call. I ended up grabbing a hob next, thinking I could automate the stuffing with a safety hob, and I just kept making discounted grabbers to complete the automation. My day-to-day strategy is still pretty similar, but in addition to making as much stuffing in advance as possible, I also am making cranberry sauce, which is mostly automated with the mixer. It's pretty quick. It's a lot quicker than the stuffing. I actually didn't notice until just now watching this bag that all the customers are wearing the same elf hat. For some reason I assumed they were in the winter clothes from the Thanksgiving update, but no, these are a little bit different. They're all elves, I guess. Does that make me Santa? I just kept on trying to stay out of the customer room as much as possible because of the Victorian standards, to the point where if I had to make 2 coffees, I would just wait outside in the snow while the coffee was brewing, which I think is a little bit funny. And in this run, I finally made it into overtime. I had a hard time on this map with the previous entrees, but turkey was my first winner. It just sort of worked with all the things I got, the main dish and the sides. Next, I got my automation loop totally done, or at least I thought I did. I realized that customers can't pick up their food from an adjacent counter. It apparently has to be a conveyor belt. So for that last table, I just had to go out and deliver the food manually once it got to that counter. And for all the other food, I could just drop them into that house on the right, and then they would teleport over and go down the conveyor belt. I was getting enough customers that I started making multiple turkeys in the morning just to prepare. I really needed more counter space though, or a prep station would have been really nice, because I was running out of places to put all the things I was preparing, and then I would get frazzled and accidentally teleport them to the tables. Like, I think at one point I just dropped some chopped onions onto the line. I never found a portioner either, which would have made life a lot easier, either for the turkey or for the bread. Either way, a portioner would have been really nice. I also started thinking about the plate situation, which was getting them from that top right down to where I needed them when I was plating food. And I had a plan that I put into effect around overtime day 2. Looking back, I think I should have just bought more of the basic conveyor belts throughout the run. Of course, I didn't have the money to do that, but getting the dishes as close as possible to the cooking area through sheer brute force would have been fine. But what I planned to do was try and get some teleporters going with my discount desk and copier. By default, they're like 1,000 gold, but if you just discount them a few times, they get down into a reasonable price range. It just takes a few days to get there. Making time to do the research and the copying and stuff was getting really difficult too. With how busy the restaurant was, I just had to find little moments throughout the day where I could bust one or two out, and I think I did probably miss a couple. And the one unfortunate problem with this built-in conveyor belt is that it's really long, so you have to account for those precious seconds that it takes to actually get to the customers once you drop it on the line. And on overtime day 3, I made a little mistake because I didn't read the patch notes carefully enough, I think. You used to be able to automate coffee machines by dropping a conveyor belt between that would drag the clean cup over to the second coffee machine. But now it doesn't work. It just endlessly puts clean cups into the second machine. And I remember reading something in the update notes about being able to return clean cups to the machine, so I think this is probably intended, but I'm not sure how you would automate coffee now. On the bright side, I was able to get that 6th dining table I needed, and a second coffee table to help with the rush. Overtime day 3 is where things got a little bit out of hand. I think part of it was me getting flustered by the coffee machines, or maybe people ordered more stuffing than usual and I just got unlucky, but I just didn't clear the tables fast enough. I had people lining up outside. It's snowing on this map, so they get really mad if they have to wait, and then I just died. And that was the end of my North Pole map turkey run. I enjoyed it a lot though. I really loved the conveyor belts. I'm very happy that they added a map that lets conveyor belts shine, because previously if you wanted a lot of conveyor belts, you had to either find a good seed that just has a lot of them, or you have to get that conveyor belt franchise card. And I definitely think there are some foods that just don't work on this map because they don't play nicely with the magic houses. In fact, I think this map would be perfect for fish. I haven't tried it yet, and I don't know exactly what it does when you put the fish into these magic houses, but acting as a combination cooking element and mixer seems perfect to just route all the fish boxes into. So maybe I'll try that one next. But that's all for this video. I just wanted to show off this holiday map. I had a lot of fun. I think it's really interesting. And this is not sponsored in any way, but PlateUp is on sale on Steam right now because of the winter sale. Like I mentioned, it is my personal game of the year. I played so much PlateUp this year and I loved it. I still love it. It's super addictive. And then you can also play it with friends, though I have a lot of fun just playing solo. I think it's great either way. And yeah, I would pick it up if I were you. Then again, if you're watching this video, you probably do already have PlateUp and you're looking for some tips. I hope this was helpful. I feel like I'm kind of becoming really knowledgeable about PlateUp, but I definitely can always use some more practice. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos about games, game development, creativity. I'll be back soon with another video, and I hope to see you there. Bye bye bye.